Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to review Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. Back in 2012, a new fantasy RPG was released into the realms of gaming, and that was Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. It had the feel of a single-player game, set in a fantasy of massive multiplayer online world, with several different regions to explore, different ways to build your character, and a range of fantasy races depicted throughout. Now 8 years later, THQ Nordic has brought the franchise back, with a remaster called Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. In short, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is a remaster of the game, and released on September 8, 2020 for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. The story of Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning takes place in Faelandia, a great kingdom, populated by humans and humanoids, and including the race of semi-immortal elves, gnomes, trolls, and so many others live in a world filled with lore. A war has been going on for some time, waged by the corrupt Tuatha Deohn, which will lead to the destruction of the kingdom, and the death of its inhabitants. This inescapable destiny is broken by the Fateless, that is our character, mysteriously dead, who is brought back to life by a gnome. The tutorial teaches you the basics of movement and combat before throwing you out into the world, and leaving you to explore your options. The most apparent thing is that the combat is just fantastic. You equip 2 weapons, and have a basic magic attack right out of the box, and these are all mapped to separate face buttons on the controller. This allows you to mix and match your attacks on the fly for excellent results. In fact, a few minutes of play are enough to understand how the narrative and contextual background of the game is very well done, with the desire to escape from the use of inflated races, to deepen the folkloristic references. From a point of view of enunciation and action, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is a hybrid. Formally it remains a role-playing video game with an open setting, but immediately contaminated with a distinctly action, and very eclectic soul. Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning keeps pace with the greats of the genre, while easily outclassing all of them. This game isn't the perfect game, with its random technical hiccups, and inconsistent art style certainly hold it back from even higher levels of greatness. But no matter what you're looking for, whether it be amazing gameplay, immersive storytelling, or perhaps a compelling new world to explore, as you fully customize and recustomize your character at will, this game doesn't disappoint you at all. When it comes to combat, there is no competition. I loved every inch of fighting in this game with magic, having an illusion of power, and defeating the enemies, one by one, or at once, is something the other games need to take inspiration from. When it comes to weapons, arsenal or powers, there are 3 main class types, which fall into the Might, Finesse, and Sorcerer categories. Might builds will favor heavy armor and weapons, Finesse relates to a more stealth build, while Sorcerers are all about the magic. Depending on the fates you unlock, and abilities you choose to invest points in, you can mix these builds together. The equipment is many and varied, from more classic weapons such as swords, hammers, bows, and magic sticks, to more exotic variants, such as twin blades. The player can equip 1 primary weapon with 1 secondary. Primary weapons are longswords, greatswords, hammers, and daggers, while secondary weapons are bows and staves. As your character levels up, skill points can be assigned to abilities such as sagecraft, alchemy, blacksmithing, dispelling, and mercantile. You kind of have to decide early on which ones of these you want to focus on before investing points, so they complement your character build. There is also the possibility of committing crimes by activating the aggressive mode with the digital cross, but this is not something encouraged by the system, as the prison reduces the experience points. The game is way too long, even before you get into the 2 DLC expansions that are included in Re-Reckoning. There's an impressive amount of side quests, faction stories, and ancillary adventures. At the same time, it can feel a bit overwhelming, as quests stack up quite quickly, as you are sent from one place to another, while completing other quests. The tasks usually range from killing specific mobs in the world, stealing something from a chest, hunting a group of enemies, finding healing potions for the sick, or going off into a dungeon and clearing it out to find whatever item required for a specific quest. The visuals is the other area where Re-Reckoning really shines. This is a game that was always about art direction, more than technical brilliance, so environments look every bit as gorgeous now compared to the original. Beyond the well-deserved compliments, the time has come to talk about the downside. Even with the design changes, and more careful calibration, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning still remains a child of its time. The fact that our character never speaks any dialogues is a little bit too cold, and more similar to the monologue. Similarly, while its menus and interface might have been acceptable 8 years ago, today they feel clunky and impractical. Inventory management is something you'll do a lot thanks to the frequency at which you'll collect pile of new gears, is constantly bogged down in closing one menu, only to have to open another menu. While having a conversation with other characters, it takes 25% of the screen with black background, which is not tolerable in 2020. Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is a nice comeback for RPG fans. It's a game that not many people got to experience, and is considered to be a hidden gem, when it was released in 2012. Now, everyone will finally be able to get their hands on it, and see why the game was fun and exciting in the past. On some levels, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is still a worthwhile RPG to hack and slash your way through, even if this remaster doesn't go above and beyond the bare minimum expectations. Its fast-paced action still entertains for the most part, and there's plenty to see and do in its big world, but after almost a decade of innovation and improvements, it no longer feels particularly extraordinary, but it is workable, giving the enhancement of graphics. At first when the remaster was announced, I was not surprised or excited at all, but after playing the game, it really resurrected the thrill of pleasure and excitement once again. So that concludes my review here. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe, like and comment. Keep visiting my channel for more reviews and updates.
You are nothing but